something.
No.
Yeah, I'm not taking the monetary value of it, I'm taking comp time for it, you know what I mean?
But we're ending up still paying for the comp time, because eventually you're gonna be taking it with pay. And it's gonna still come out of our pockets.
But we did talk about if
there's an emergency, it's gotta be taken care of.
you're saying that we shouldn't be paying time and a half on that time. Like if he works 4 hours, like Bo is working some hours on the weekends, he's worked 4 hours, he's taking 4 hours off on Friday. That's not overtime, right? I mean, we talked about that.
We've talked about that.
You're worried about them taking comp time is your time and a half, right?
Because it's overtime.
It doesn't work out perfectly 8 hours a day, you know?
I know it doesn't. I work that position, and you watch your hours so that, you know, on Friday,
I try to, yeah.
you know, because all the money that we save during the summer, then we'll have it come winter when we really need it. This is where we need to be saving. And if there's a tree that comes down, get in touch with 2 of the select board members. Or get in touch with Chad, or get in touch with myself. And
I say try to get in touch, because I mean,
that's not
they can
always.
do their job. I mean, the tree's down, don't get the tree out of the road.
I think if
Finish the
in the middle of
job
the
too. I
he
mean,
does it, I think he should at least contact us the next day or something and say, I had to work.
that's fine, I can
if
do it.
we're
I
up
mean, we
in,
could try it that way, and if you don't like
Let's
it,
try it that
if
way.
we're up in West Townsend grading or something, and oh shit, I'm gonna run out of time. Pick the blade up and head home.
If you're,
You gotta.
They're back. That's another thing we need to work on that needs to be parked up here instead of running the tires off it. But that is what that's.
Well, no, I didn't bring that up as another argument. I'm just saying that it makes more sense to finish the job even if it creates some overtime. I mean, if we're gonna start nitpicking.
well, if you don't start nitpicking, then your budget's gonna go up through the
It's the
roof.
overtime that we're looking
And
at,
that's what we're,
because the overtime.
Well, yeah, I
is
understand that, but I mean,
yeah.
you're doing a job or something and you could have it done in an hour.
But also, if you can't, at this point, if you can't estimate how long that's gonna take, and if it's gonna take you more an hour on one day,
I mean, they've been pretty good about it.
they've been pretty
They're not
good
charging
at it.
overtime. It's
Well,
it's for the
what I'm
others,
saying.
you know.
We still gotta,
Okay. The other thing on the warrants that I'd like to bring up once again is, that is still there, is that $900 to
Well, I've got in my hand here.
whatever. You can-
and I've been in touch with the salesperson, and he says that they are going to, if we don't pay it, they are gonna come back at us. But we could elect to pay half of it. Salesperson saying, you know, you might be able to get away with paying half of it. We could try not paying any of it. It depends upon, I don't know how big their legal department is.
I would like to see if they would send a representative to our next meeting so we could discuss this. In my understanding, they did not tell us that it was going to be a $900 charge until they sent us the bill.
And in my discussions with the salesperson, he also collaborated that, and I told him that we're not happy with the fact that you're not putting on your forms that it's going to cost whenever you back call. Because if we had known, then we possibly could have done something else with that culvert.
That's right.
But I will contact,
I mean, it seems to me, is any company, I don't care, if I'm going to truck something back and I'm going to charge you for trucking, I'm going to say, well, it's going to cost you X number of dollars for me to return this.
and that's exactly what I told him.
That's my argument. Okay.
The traffic can be intense sometimes. The traffic can be intense sometimes.
It wasn't the traffic.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Warrants are done, highway warrant.
Now, we need to, do we have a motion for the warrants in a second and a vote?
No, we don't.
I will move that we pay the warrants excluding the contact amount.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Highway foreman and commissioners reports. Should we go down this list of things, or?
I put it on there for talking purposes, but Chad had asked about that control policy, not important,
Oh, okay.
The Route 35 paving bids we've already seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of seeing what permits we have to apply for to switch over that fuel pump, and I'll be discussing that with Chad.
Great.
So we'll move forward with that in the future. East Hill Road project. Kurt was able to get in touch with Bud.
Did he call you or not?
He called me. He needs the contract signed. He sent a new copy of it, but it's the same contract we had that he sent through last October. Basically needs a signature on the date on the last page. It outlines everything they're going to do. And then I think Chad brought up in an email that maybe there should be, make sure everybody's on the same page before the engineering begins, that kind of thing. And
I mentioned that to Brother before we started.
Kim brought up that there may be FEMA, but she's looking at it right now, I guess, regulations, we may have to put the engineering out to bid if FEMA's going to pay for it. I don't know. It's a $30,000 bill for engineering. So anyway, you got the contract there and Brother's ready to go.
Have you been able to talk to that Scott at all?
No, I tried calling him today.
I need
And if you call him, last week I called him, last Friday. And I don't think he's going to be back till the 17th.
I emailed him a lot, just asked him, remember the question we went through, the 284 and the 209, I
Yeah.
wanted to know what the difference was.
Well, I ran off a copy of all this stuff because I didn't know if you had seen all of the paperwork.
Yeah,
You
I
have?
think you said it all.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you had it.
So I just asked him, like, what the difference, where the difference of money is at, or,
No.
I didn't know, you got an email from him, Scott Chisano, was it, from FEMA, about borrowing pit, personnel.
Oh, using materials off of person.
I didn't know if you were able to get it in touch with him easier, or,
I seriously doubt it.
we'll have to wait, I guess.
And, yeah, and also, if there's a question about whether we have to put this out to bid for engineering studies or not, I mean,
He's the one that would probably could tell
you
you,
gotta make sure that.
He's not going to be back till the 17th.
17th of July.
All right. Then who's the second contact? Should we get in touch with?
I don't know.
Should we get in touch with Ms. Meyer? And the agency transportation?
Yes.
I do have Greg Morris' home phone, and I don't know if he'd be able to do anything for us or not, but.
I don't know, he's been done so long now.
And Brother will
Maybe
know whether it needs to be.
Give
put out
that to
bid or
the
not.
commissioner.
Believe it or not. Not that you want to ask him.
Did you see, find anything in that proposal, that stuff from FEMA that said that?
I didn't read it that closely. The only thing I find in here is on this CEF total project summary sheet where it says 284 and then on the sheet he transferred it to is a different number. I don't know why. But they've got standard design phase scope contingencies. Design and construction, they've got $11,000 in here.
What's happening?
That's your design and,
Well, I think it's
The
probably
bid is-
inspection too.
yeah,
Did that?
and the bid is coming in at 30, so.
But the other part of this is that you contracted with Stevens and Associates last fall in October to do most of this, but hold off on it just do the
That
topographical.
was just the top of it.
Right. But I mean, everything else was just, we'll wait until spring.
And then it's gonna be fall.
Well, but again, they are online. Stevens and Associates are online from last fall as the contractor to do this, so to speak, when the town is basically ready and FEMA's ready. There's nothing signed. That's the problem.
Well, we're ready, however, we're not ready unless we get clarification from FEMA.
No, we need something in writing.
We need
Let me give you this
Right.
back to hold.
Get a hold of Carl, where do you have to?
Alright, then let me get in touch with, if you wanna keep your emails up and Kim keep her emails up, then we'll see if we can get it through the state as well,
Yeah.
to try and get
Beat,
Or maybe
clarification.
beat every question.
Yeah.
Some word from something. Somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, what's this? Driveway culvert and beaver control policies.
Let's put that off, because
Okay.
I don't know if Chad's had a chance to look at anything, but I haven't. So,
Okay.
There, just to go back there, just kind of just caught my eye. There is in here, it says, the applicant has been advised by the FEMA project specialist that in the seeking of proposals and letting of contracts for eligible work, the applicant must comply with its local, state, and/or federal procurement laws. And, you know, our policy is over a certain amount. It's gotta be-
15,000.
gotta be put out for bid.
Okay.
Well, that pretty much answers that question.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, if it does, then let's get it out to bid.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'd
We
rather
need to,
caution
I mean,
on the safe.
appropriately, I think you're right, caution, you know, on the safe side. Then we're not held up for another month.
Right.
If we put that out to bid, and certainly let Stevens Associates know, that's what FEMA's telling us.
Kim, have you received anything else that wasn't in that packet that you sent us earlier?
No, I just ran off everything that was, that
Okay.
he had given me. There's just some pictures, see, what I don't understand is that the sub-grant application that he submitted, where it has the 209,000, he has CEF cost estimate. Well, the CEF cost estimate that he attached is the one that says 284,000, so, and that just sort of caught my eye today. I've never, I mean,
No, I've been
this
trying
is,
for the last 2 weeks to get hold of it. I
Well,
finally
okay.
got his email from you.
this got Trizano.
If we turn around
Is he on
and
vacation?
quickly can get a bid out for the engineering, then that'll keep us moving forward.
Yeah.
All right,
In the meantime, hopefully by then we'll get hold of it.
okay.
Otherwise, you're looking at another month. for
Yeah,
you.
no, we're not gonna wait that long. Okay. Craig, can you
I'll contact Brett.
if you'll contact Bud and let him know, and
Before you take off, do you want to do a site visit with Brett and whoever else, somebody from that, or whoever else you,
No, we're gonna have to put it
Yeah, I
out.
would think so.
we're gonna have to do that.
but do you need to wait until after the 17th so the FEMA representative can be there? So everybody's on the same page, apples and apples.
I'm gonna call Gary Shelley tomorrow, and you can call them and,
Well,
Okay, you guys let me know. on
since
that.
since we don't need information from Sue Mentor, then I'll go ahead and by going through the paperwork that Kim has and has previously sent us, then I'll get some paragraphs together and send it out to everybody so that we can start looking at it and coming up with an engineering bid package.
I told Brett I'd be calling him tomorrow anyway, so I can call him. But I want to say that within the next week or so, we're calling him again to let him know that there's going to be further process in this.
Right.
We'll have a date for him or a meeting or however that's going to work out. Try to set something up.
So I hope I can
I
turn
mean,
it
I'll
around.
read that again, but I don't think as long as we don't go out of the, I mean, the only thing that says is about you may use it fill from that slope, back slope, but, which we
so
talked
that
about.
could be much bigger.
We talked about moving away from it onto our own land, and we don't see how they're gonna
I don't think that they're gonna,
We're not really we're realigning it a little bit, but
Pretty much gonna be the same.
Talk about
we're
this.
just basically getting away from that slope.
Yeah.
But when you guys are talking about when installed 300, it was in the ballpark.
right.
So, it's
All
gonna
right.
be interesting.
Okay, one further question on this. What's your pleasure? Do you want to withhold a certain amount? Do you want a certified check for the bidders? For engineering, do you want, how in depth do you want to go? Certified check for 5%?
And are they gonna oversee the project?
They're going to have to oversee the project.
Collaboration.
To a certain extent, I would say.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'll get something out and y'all can just shoot holes in it and we'll realign it and get it out in the paper. Because if we could get it in the paper,
Get it, the quicker we do that.
Yeah.
the quicker we do that, if we could get it in the paper by next week, then.
And if we get it, I'll send it, or we can send it to that Scott Pizzano and make sure he's all good with it.
Okay.
Hopefully, I just did it today, so hopefully, it's a few days at least check.
Where's the other?
Well, it wasn't in the
He's in
Brattleboro
Brattleboro right
office,
now.
but last time I talked to Greg Morley, he thought they were gonna be closing that office down by the end of June, so
Can we get
they
a hold
may
of
have packed up and left.
Gotta get
The answer machine says it'll be back July 17th.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay.
That's my
You
second.
have Craig Morley's phone number, so you can get that from
The
her.
important question of the day, is that your dip sign?
It's not my sign. The sign was down for 3 or 4 days, and when I put it back up, when I put it back up, I decided it wasn't.
It just said, it just happened, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tune them up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tune them up tomorrow.
It's not a bomb.
Oh, good.
It's a bit.
Yeah, it is.
I'm missing something, that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
You don't run the 5 very often, do you?
Come on,
We're
pour
out
the
there.
gas, man.
That Lincoln,
We'll get them paid here, hopefully.
Next week.
that Lincoln would probably.
Next week we're gonna-
That thing.
Crew and I will buy something.
They have actually put
Wait.
top on some of them
The
before.
last thing I heard on the way out of the house was something about those bumps.
It's traffic.
But it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
people are flying over those things. They get behind me and try to climb my tailpipe because I slow down for them.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that one right there at Simpson Brook is right next to houses, my house, and the bedroom windows are right. I hear every car, and everybody that comes down from the north, they don't know, it's even if they see the sign, they don't realize. Every trailer, every logging truck, but at night, every truck, bubble.
Okay, Kurt, anything else you want to tell us about?
I could go down my list from our last meeting we had. I called your Central Vermont Communications and I dropped 2 of the 3 pagers, and I'm gonna get an alpha numeric pager.
Okay.
That's just myself.
And once you get that pager, we'll get the number to Anita.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Then that way during wintertime, if snow needs to be plowed or.
It can be, called in, it can be emailed, it can be all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
they just have to know the process. I'm gonna do A&R Tom and E's about Elway Road, Plum Hill, and Deer Valley Road culverts. I got the permits for Elway Road and East Hill right there. Deer Valley culvert. I gotta get a hydraulic stuff for that. And then we'll hash over what can go in there. Like we did on the other 2 roads.
Did you check Illinois Road is now a squash pipe, not just a regular pipe, not a.
Squash pipe had a bridge.
Box.
Yeah. And I got a list going for the work crew on the whiteboard now, so everybody's your message. So we got that going, so when they come in on Thursday, if we're not there, I know exactly what to do. Started in the pit with a dozer today, headed down there, straighten things out. Consolidating all the material and gravel and spread out through.
Well, you rented a dozer, is that what
Yes.
I understand?
Yes.
Did you check with other people around?
Yes.
To make sure that that's the cheapest way to go?
Yes.
Was that done? Was, okay.
I checked.
Thank you.
You can believe me too.
No, I believe you, it's a matter of record.
One question I had, I didn't want to wait till Thursday is, do we are they gonna give us Wednesday for a
Yeah.
holiday off?
Yeah.
That's a 1 week.
Yeah.
1 week, yeah.
As continuing with the pit, we picked up all the scrap metal in there, all the culverts and everything. And we brought it to scrap it last week. We got $760 for the scrap culverts in there. It wasn't too bad at all. Like I said, I'm waiting for a hydraulic study and the grader. The grader's going to be done. It would be done Wednesday, but Wednesday.
Could you talk a little bit about what's being done?
Yeah, transmission went in the grader. We went with a rebuilt transmission because that grader's not going to be replaced for another 8 years. I did not want to go with a junker transmission. I still don't, the grader's not that old, and to buy a transmission from a scrap piece in the junkyard, either got to be a ton of hours on it, or something had to be wrong with that machine to be junked and scrapped and parted out. We do get a warranty with this for a year. They did have to replace the transmission oil cooler. It was contaminated. The whole system had to be flushed out. They called me about an upgrade for a fan shaft. 2 years ago, our fan shaft went on that. And we had to hire them because they have these special tools. And they called me and they upgraded the fan shaft on there. It went from a three-quarter inch fan shaft to 1.5 inch fan shaft and different splines and everything. So why they had it all apart, instead of having it happen to us and coming on the road to do it, they did it right there. I know it's a lot of money, but we're going to have that for another 8 years.
What's a lot of money? Because this hasn't been discussed at the board level at all, that I know. So what's a lot of money?
The new transmission is $27,000.
Does that include installation? and all
No.
that?
No. It's going to be, they gave me an estimate of $40,000.
40,000?
You have any notion why it went?
No idea.
Well, because a member of the public came to me and said that they saw an oil line from the Allen Ware Road up as far as Route 35
Yep,
where everything was setting.
That was a hydraulic line. That was last year. And the way it's positioned, it's underneath the machine. You don't know you broke a hydraulic line until the alarm goes off when you're going down the road. And it was transporting it back to the
I
shop.
just got in here again because I'm a novice, and I'm not blaming him or anything like that. It's hard for me to understand how a transmission can weld itself up if it's getting proper maintenance. If we know, the oil's been checked, seeing if there's filings in there and that kind of thing. I've got
I can
some
tell you.
questions and problems with that. Also, and I guess this is to the board, if it's a $40,000 expenditure, it seems to me as though that should be brought before the board before. That's a big expenditure, and I don't think that we can just say, I don't think that we can give Kurt the authority to go spend $40,000 on a breakdown without us at least looking at what are the options. Is there a cheaper way out? Is there a better way out? There's a whole lot of different things, so I'm a bit concerned about the way this is done. I've heard a lot of rumors out around town, what's going on, so that's why I decided. Well, that's always is. There always is, and that's why I'm bringing it up. So there's a couple of issues.
I probably should have called, I did call Hetty before I did anything, and I probably should have called everybody, I didn't. I thought it was going to be a quicker fix and be on the road at the end of last week.
Yeah, but it's a $40,000 fix, and I don't know where you got the authority to spend $40,000. We're talking about you can't do a design for $10,000 unless we put it out a bid. Now we're talking $40,000 repair on a grader. And also, I'm concerned that that grader's not that old, it's not scheduled for replacement, you said, for another 8 years.
Right.
And if the transmission gear's welded up in it, something isn't right. It's not being maintained right. or-
And I can show you the
something.
receipts that all those oils were changed because we just had all the coolers. We had a problem with it overheating.
Mhm.
And we took all the coolers out, changed all the oils, and I had the coolers boiled out and cleaned. The fence at the inside, the Riverside radiator, we got them built for that, you probably saw that at one time. But all the fluids were changed, that was last fall. You know, all the receipts are for all the oils and filters in that machine. You know, for every machine.
You said that, there was a warranty on that? You said 1 year?
Yeah, what do you want?
How many hours?
No hour.
I'm looking at hours.
For that 1 year, it'll cover labor and transmission.
And what's the rest of the board feel about an expenditure of $40,000 without bringing it before the whole board?
Probably should have been.
I think it behooves the board to set,
I mean,
determine what limit they want to.
Well, I thought we did that. Well, I thought we had a policy of, what is it, $10,000 or $15,000 expenditures needs to come before the board. That was my
This is
understanding.
purchase goods policy. Goods.
It's what?
Well, on equipment in the past, I taken care of the equipment, not going through the board. You know, I never had an expenditure this big, I'll be honest. But the equipment's always been take care of the equipment, keep it running, and we need the equipment, that type of thing. I didn't go and purchase something new out of the ordinary.
I'm not saying you purchase something new out of the ordinary, but a $40,000 transmission to me is out of the ordinary. And I feel like I'm the only one
I don't
that's...
think you can put this all on Kurt. I mean,
I'm not putting it on Kurt. I'm
he called
talking
Kenny,
about...
and we found out 2 days after that. I mean,
So where did the authority to spend $40,000 come from? I mean, we've got a policy, am I right? The policy's, it's either 10 or 15, unless it's changed since I was last on the board.
It's 15 because of purchase policy.
Any expenditures beyond 15,000 need to come before the board.
And we fell down on this one. It's very clear. I'm not sure, I don't think if it had come before the board, the result will be any different, but you're absolutely right, it should have. And there were some communication breakdowns here that should not have happened. I mean, I think we would have probably decided to fix the backhoe, but
But as Mr. Martin is pointing out, we might have done some additional research and found that there were other options that we could take.
and we will learn from that.
Nortrax did say that operator wouldn't know until the lights were on. That was from you, your email.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a redundancy of, you know, safety stuff, it's not like a helicopter, you know what I mean?
Again, I'm not like hollering or blaming you necessarily. What I said that I'm naive about this kind of equipment and stuff, but it seems to me, though, with proper and regular maintenance checks and those sort of things, that it would have been found. I mean, and I can totally be wrong. And that's one issue that I had, and the other issue is the expenditure of $40,000 without board consent. That's it.
Sounds like the maintenance has been
Well, what did
up to date and
Nortrax say when they got it?
Oil analysis pretty much would have copied.
Oil analysis would have gone a long way to finding out. Because
But it's an expense, so.
Yeah, we can start doing oil analysis. I got the stuff upstairs.
maybe that'd be a good idea then.
Oil analysis. analysis, that's a process.
What you do is you take an oil sample every 100 hours or every 500 hours, and you send it off to a laboratory, and they look at it and tell you,
Basically like the water.
Varnish it evens.
you know, how much of what types of metals they're finding in it, so they can tell you what bearings are going.
Do we do that routinely in the vehicles?
What does it cost?
I don't remember. We did it as a backup for the first 1,000 hours. That was included in the machine.
We will get the cost and bring it back.
Thank you. Anything else for highway department at this?
You can do renewal with Michael Charles.
Yeah.
Can I pipe in about the Michael Charles thing, even though I know
Yes.
it's none of my business and I wasn't involved in deciding what he was gonna pay for that culvert, but we did
If
use
it's money, it's your business.
we used his equipment for 43 hours during our meeting, for free. He did not charge us for that, for any maintenance, for any fuel. And we're charging him money for a culvert with holes in it. I think that's, I understand maybe it's politically correct that, you can't just give something away that belongs to the town. But sometimes you have to do what's right, not what's politically correct.
Well, apparently they settled on a price that was 200.
But I don't think he was happy about it, from what I understand.
Oh,
Because
He's the one that came and offered it.
I know he offered to buy it. And that was the right thing to do, to offer to buy it. But I think, again, the right thing for the town to do under the circumstances would have been to, hey, it's right across from his road, we did use his equipment, it didn't cost us anything, a nominal fee just to say he bought it. But I have his check and I will deposit it, but my 2 cents is I don't think that was right. I don't think it was a fair thing to do. The check will go in the bank.
okay. Anything else while Kirk's here? Well, under new business, we've got this compliance with 99 road standards. That's certainly,
You want to discuss that? I mean, it has impact to him. There's, it impacts the entire road crew. But I think that there's some discussion that the select board could have while we're making the decision whether we're going to go with that or not, so that we're not chewing up his entire evening.
yeah, that's
And we have
fine.
additional people that are going to be here that need to
Yep.
discuss other issues.
Okay.
Well, I guess I need to know whether our 99 road standards are in compliance with current state road standards. And I don't know that.
Currently, they're not, because the 1999 road standards that have been adopted are referencing certain plans that the state of Vermont has done away with.
So
So we need
why
to
don't
update them anyway.
Yeah, so why don't we find out what we need to do as a town to be in compliance with federal and state,
And the states,
revise our road standards.
the state has come up with, it's a simpler road standard. It doesn't reference all of the plans. And they and the Vermont Rural Roads Program is recommending the same verbiage.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, that we should, conform or adopt or amend, whatever. I think the thing that I would caution is that we still need to be in standards with federal in the event of any catastrophic events. We want to make sure that we're going to get reimbursement from FEMA and not have them say, well, you don't have road standards that meet our criteria.
And the standards that the state of Vermont, the Agency of Transportation is pushing are in compliance with the federal government.
Great, okay, so we'll look at them at some point in the future. So, we're done with Kurt? Okay, law enforcement report.
Thank you, Kurt.
I assume you're Tyler.
I am Tyler Cook, with the Sheriff's Department. Newly to the Townshend position. I'm basically here just to introduce myself and see any questions that the board has, or I don't have anything prepared in it to present or anything like that.
That's fine. We'd like to know who's out there.
As in who's out there? As in what?
You.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me. I'm out, the majority of the week. With the holiday this week, taking some time here and there, but been with the Sheriff's Department for a little over 3 years now, and I just finished a full-time academy in May.
So you will be the liaison to the town select board?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you and Jeff will be, because Jeff is the insurance. Jeff is our liaison to the Sheriff's Department. So
Jeff Ross, RUSS.
And having been sort of back and forth and around the edges of the dog incident, I hear you did a real nice job with that.
Thank you. I did actually speak with the owner of the dog, and we discussed the situation, and I did a little bit of research on my own. The dog is an 18-month-old puppy, basically. Between the months of 18 and 24 is when the dogs really start to fatten up. So the look of it being skinny is a natural thing, but between the 18 and 24 months is when they really start to blow up. The vets actually say to make sure you don't overfeed them when they look that skinny, because if you overfeed them, then they get really fat, and it's almost a unhealthy thing for the dog to be. I will continue to check on the dog just to make sure everything is coherent. There are some other things that I did discuss with the owner, but that's on my side, and I have to keep checking on that. So.
Okay, I should also let you know that we like hearing about things sooner rather than later. There have been over the years all kinds of things that the Sheriff's Department was involved in investigating that we first learned about in the newspaper.
Okay.
And that's awkward.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
There's nothing big on the radar right now. It's been fairly quiet, knock on wood, for us. So, there's nothing really large on the radar or anything like that. So, I did work with the Agency of Transportation today, buttoning up the Scott Bridge. They did put up some new signs, and I basically told them that if I see anybody in the area, you can't be on the bridge. So, I was down there when they refitted the chain link fence that they put up. So.
Have you met with our constable?
I have not yet.
Suggest that maybe you do that this time.
What is the constable?
Joe Nolan
And Warren.
I keep saying Wayne, I knew
Warren,
right.
Warren Beatty.
Warren, sorry, Warren Beatty.
Joe Novick,
His
his
second
first
constable.
constable, Warren Beatty, and his second constable.
Maybe you and Jeff and those two guys could just sit down and have a coffee, just so they get to know each other and work it out. But
Absolutely.
it's a good idea, just so everybody works together.
Okay, did you have questions for us?
I don't have, I mean, like I said, I didn't have really anything planned, it was just kind of to introduce myself, hey, I'm here, I'm in the town now. If anything ever comes up, you know, I'm a phone call away from the sheriff's department, I try to answer emails and telephone calls immediately as soon as I get them, so I've,
Do you have a card?
I don't have any cards on me, I'm actually waiting for them to get printed, so.
Alright. Well, I'll see
But
you
as soon
around
as-
town.
as soon as I-
Drop some off, but-
As soon as I get some cards, I'll drop some by the.
Well, I'll see you
town
around
clerk's
town, I'll
office.
stop and we'll.
We have in the past
November
asked
30, Jeffy.
the deputy assigned to Townshend to stop in here like the first Monday of every month for our meeting. We meet twice a month.
It's the first and the third, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And either one would do, but
Right.
since you're here on the first one,
Right.
maybe we can keep on going like that. I mean, just for a few minutes to give us an update about what you're doing, what you know about what's going on in town.
Absolutely. Anything you guys hear, feel free to push it my way, and you know I can look into anything that comes up. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, I assume everybody has seen the town clerk's report. Which brings us up to Kim and Joe.
I have all kinds of things for you. I had sent an email last week to the state, 3 different people, just to kind of follow up and see how come we hadn't received any more FEMA money. Things have been a little bit quiet. Asked what was going on with our appeal on the dam culvert, since we hadn't heard anything about that either. So I got an email back today from Gary Shelley, who's the one that actually sends the money now, I guess. They are processing a payment this week for us on one of the project worksheets, which was a combination of a bunch of roads in the amount of $204,000 and change. So hopefully by the end of the week we'll have that in our account. So then that basically leaves 2 project worksheets. Peaked Mountain, which has not been obligated by FEMA yet, I'm not sure why. It's not a really big one. And East Hill Steepway, obviously, has not been obligated. That's still kind of hanging out there, and we need to figure out how we're going to resolve that. I think one of the things that I would like to get a little more clear from them is on these large projects, you can basically do it 2 ways. They do up an estimate, I think, and then when you're done, you know, they do up an estimate, and then along the way you can get progress payments on that estimate. And then when you're finished and you submit all the paperwork, you can actually get paid based on what your actuals are. But I want to clarify that, because I'm not positive that that's how that works.
Yeah, Kim, let me back you up a second. You said you had asked about the appeal. Has that been filed? Where are we with the appeal?
I did not get an answer back. There's the gentleman who I spoke with, who was supposed to be handling that, was one of the people I sent this email to, and I have not heard back from him.
Oh.
And this gentleman said that that's the other guy's purview, you know. So
Oh, I'm
we'll
sure.
have
So
to-
it has been filed though?
it says I would need to
The-
defer to Ben Rose on
Ben
Townsend's
Rose
dam
has been
culvert appeal.
Working on an appeal for Townsend.
Yeah, so, you know, I'll try to follow up with Ben too, but he did get this email, so
Okay.
I'm assuming I will hear from him at one point. On that, there is still some money to be paid on the dam culvert on their original project worksheet and dollar amount. But, of course, we haven't gotten the paving done yet, which Kurt was able to get included as part of that, so we won't get that final payout until that's done, and we submit the bill and the check stub to the state that the project is 100% complete. So that'll be, that's another $54,000 on that one. But so you know, the 204 is gonna bring us up to, about $520,000 that we'll have received from them. So hopefully, we shall see that this week.
That would be very nice.
That would be very nice, yes it would. The other thing was, and maybe a couple of you guys that have been here for a while will know, we got a bill from John Deere Leasing on the backhoe. And I was like, 'cause I know I came in right, well, sort of a year after that had taken place. I understand a couple of things that had happened was originally the town had leased it, and then when we got the loan from the state, paid off the lease. Is that everybody else's understanding?
No,
No.
we never leased it. There may, I think there was an arrangement that was made because we picked it up prior to the end of the fiscal year or something of that sort. We were waiting for matching money from Vermont Equipment Loans.
Well, I have a
those
copy here of the
payments.
lease schedule that was signed by Mr. Martin here
Okay.
in July of '08. That says payment due at signing, which was paid. And apparently there was supposed to be some payments. We haven't made any payments since then. This is the first time I've gotten a bill, and I just got this stuff today, so I haven't had a chance to really look through it and come up with how they think we owe them more money.
There should be a whole payment schedule and all of that money to go back to July of '08.
There is a payment schedule.
Yeah, should.
Yeah, but,
But we never paid it?
yeah, yeah.
We
There
did
was,
pay.
there was a check for that first payment made.
But just the first payment, not,
Well,
Statute of limitations is one on that.
we haven't made a payment to John Deere Leasing since that first payment was made
Who's the name
in
of that?
July 15th of '08 for the 21,077.93. And then we paid off that, the rest of the lease, it looks like, in one lump sum when we borrowed the money from the state. We borrowed from the state to pay off the lease, is the way I understand it. So I guess I'm gonna have to, you know, call them and have them explain
yeah,
to me.
like, do a little more checking and
Yeah.
get back to
Yeah.
us.
Because, again, it was sort of, it was before I came and it wasn't
It was
not really clear
before
as to
any of
how.
us came, except maybe Jeff and Kit.
No, I wasn't on the
It
board.
was your fault.
I remember you forced Kit to sign that.
But Ted is arm behind his back. I was off the board for a year or two.
Don't bring the ass Jan.
I will have probably by the next meeting, the year-end stuff. Of course, I'll have some bills still coming in over the next couple of weeks before we'll have, you know, the real picture of how this past fiscal year looks. But I did want to check and see how much, like in the highway, when Irene happened, the payroll, I only allocated to Irene payroll for Doug Wynot and Irv and Joe, and the overtime for our crew, because at the time that we were told that's all we were going to get reimbursed for was our overtime. Since then, we've been able to bill for our regular time and our overtime. So, do you want it to show up in the budget, all of the wages, basically for that 2-month period, under Irene, as opposed to under the regular budget item for wages? Because obviously it's going to make the wages look a lot smaller. It'll just be transferred over to
Yeah,
Irene. What was Irene was a...
If you take their normal 40 hours or 36 or 7 or whatever it is, out of the budget for that period, we're going to have an artificially small number, I think. And if we look at that and try to base the following year's budget on it, we're gonna be in trouble.
That's right.
I don't think that
Okay, so
it would
just
be
leave it
helpful
where
to
it
do
was.
that, yeah.
Just leave it where it was.
I think so.
Okay.
Anybody else have
I
any?
think so too, I agree.
I mean, it worked out that the actuals for that line item were almost dead on for the budgeted amount. You know, but obviously, again, the overtime was put somewhere else,
Yeah.
so it wasn't in there, and we wouldn't have had the overtime like we did if it wasn't for Irene, so. Okay, I will leave it the way it is, on that one. I think the, listers are going to have the grand list finalized tomorrow, which means we will be able to set a tax rate. Is,
16th. Next meeting is the 16th.
yeah, I don't want to wait that long, because I would really like to
There
have
is
the
some-
bills.
There is some tax information in the correspondence.
Yep.
I already got that included in there for the schools, you mean? Well, just as of the grand list today, and I'm not sure, it's not gonna change that much by tomorrow morning, but it's not finalized, so we can't really set a tax rate, but if, you know, if there's a chance that, you know, a phone call or a quick sit down sometime next week, we'll set a tax rate, or
And there's
Chad's
gonna
gonna be
be,
gone.
at least one of us is gonna be going on the 12th. I don't know if Eddie's planning or if anybody else is planning on going to Montpelier on the 12th.
I can't, but somebody else was
Well-
planning to.
Well, you're talking about setting a tax rate. Can
Right.
we have a quick meeting next Monday night just to? Is that
That would be the 9th.
That'd be the 9th. We could have a quick
I mean,
meeting
it's
on the
gonna
9th.
take 5 minutes because
Yeah,
you
but I
know, you
don't-
don't really have any choice. You
Right.
just, I'm gonna tell you the numbers and you're gonna say, okay.
But I think that we have to do that. and
Yeah, let's do it on the 9th.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
At 6
right here.
o'clock or
Just
earlier.
because that's usually what we do when we're
Yeah.
not here, not here.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll be
Chad
enough
will
of
be
us.
gone, but, you know,
It's just your taxes, Chad, that's all.
just your taxes, yeah. And I don't know, I mean, did all of these guys get a copy of the education budget?
I did.
They did.
Pretty big increase on the education side.
Yes.
If it wasn't for that, the taxes would have gone down.
Right.
So I think, you know, and the public needs to know that in February and at town meeting, when they vote on those budgets, school budgets,
Don't matter.
this is when it comes back. And,
Prior school boards have been trying to communicate that it really doesn't matter. Your school board can hold the line or reduce funding, and the state
It's
in
not gonna
June
matter, it's the state that's gonna do it.
is going to do it.
yeah, so anyway, you're gonna see an increase in your tax rate. Tentatively, just so you know that.
I'm gonna post some more cars in the yard, refrigerators on the porch.
That's what it's like.
Yeah.
David had put a note in the bills about the UniFirst contract, which is over next year, and at that point, you know, the board will have to rethink how to do the highway uniform thing. The bank balance as of today is $402,245.99. I'm thinking that when we get this money this week from FEMA, and we can wait until the next meeting probably again to talk about it, that we maybe should just pay off that line of credit. It's good until December, so if we get started on East Hill and we need more money for that,
We
you know,
can
that
get that.
500,000 will be there. Right, exactly, we'll have 500,000 for that. But, you know, that's 250,000 or whatever, so, if that comes through and things are still looking, you know, fairly decent, you know, we have the money for, the paving, which I'm assuming is really the only big ticket item that's gonna come in between now and the first payment for this fiscal year. On the transmission for the grader, we have a couple of things we can do. We do have some money in that equipment fund.
What are the terms with no tracks?
Well, if this is under, on the power plan thing, which I'm assuming this would be under that, you basically get to defer, you know, you don't have to pay it like in 30 days, you don't have 60 days to pay it. I don't think it's gonna be, it's not any better than that, you don't spread it out over a certain amount of time.
Right.
You
But it
know,
would at least allow us to get some tax revenue coming in, and it would
right.
provide Mr. Martin some additional time to point out to
No,
us.
it won't, it won't.
They can actually
And
make it
additional
better.
tax revenue has already been budgeted somewhere, I would assume.
Yeah, this is certainly not in the budget. We have budgeted, you know, certain amount of dollars in this fiscal year for the grader, but it's not
It's not there
$40,000.
now, so
So we can either choose to
we're just going to
put it in there and,
where
you
else we can
know,
get it
go
from.
throughout the year and see how we make out on the other equipment based on what we budgeted for dollars. We may, you know, be okay if we don't spend as much on the other equipment throughout the year that we budgeted. You know, so we really kind of wait until the end of the fiscal year to decide, you know, whether we're gonna go over budget or take the money out of this other account that we have for equipment.
And
But
that bank balance again was
402, 245.99.
that's the general fund.
general.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's our, you know, we've got all our schools paid off, all the extra to the schools paid off. You know, those bills are all done.
Good.
You know, no other big ones that I know of coming up. And I think you saw in the warrants, we used to have to pay the county tax in one lump sum right in the beginning. The legislature saw fit to change that so it can be in 2 payments now, one in July, one in, I don't know, November, September, something like that. So we can get that, hold off on that, so, you know, spread it out a little bit farther. You know, I do have pretty much most of the, you know, the budget stuff together, but I'll try to have more definitive stuff for you on the 16th for the fiscal year to see how we ended up the fiscal year. I mean, irregardless of FEMA, I think you kind of have to take those numbers, you know, aside separately and subtract them out and, you know, to really look at your actual operating budget. You know, because now that we've spread it out over 2 fiscal years, it's just makes it that much more complicated to reconcile what went out and what's coming in, because it's going to show up at 2 different places, 2 different years. But so that's it for me.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for Kim? In that case, emergency management.
I have nothing.
In that case, let's take a 5-minute break and then hear from members of the public. Are other people here to address us?
She's actually under old business next, so if you want to do it.
Well, I'm
Under
under
members of the public.
Under members of the public now, right? Is that right?
That's right. Anybody else out there here to address us about something? Yes?
All right. Well, Bob and Tom, and it's not just me, it's our committee. Yeah, we've got lunch here. Wheels tonight since last time. I had to get helped up by 2 gentlemen. I decided, well, I can do this differently. Takes a little thought. Come on, Bob and Tom. What I'd like to do is address several questions that came up. See, the trouble with having your meeting televised, that I can see all the misunderstandings, and I'd like to correct some of those. And so I kind of made a memo, or you can have copies of the memo, but I figured if I passed it out early, everybody's looking at the menu and not going properly. But I was hoping then we'll resolve that, so we don't have to come back and, oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, all right? So the first thing is, there's very good news, there's no asbestos in the building. We've known this for a long time, in fact, since about 2009. There was vermiculite in the attic, and that's a hazardous material. From the way it's mined, it's considered a hazardous material. It was just strewn around, wasn't doing much for insulation. But that was removed by hazardous things, and it was part of the town hall insulation contract. And it cost Thermal House about $8,000 to have all those people with their gray hooded things and all that stuff come in. And then, of course, dispose of it. But it was done.
Yeah,
So there is nothing of any hazardous material in the building. And you may remember the Thermal House contract was for $50,000. The town got a grant for 45 and only put in 5. So we did get our money's worth definitely there. Now, I wanted to tell you that Keith and Westner were originally recommended to us by the Vermont Department of Historic Preservation and the Preservation Trust, which is a very good grant source, both Nancy Bloom and Ann Clemens. And in 2005, we got a grant for them to make an initial appraisal of the building. And they did that. And then we had to wait till 2009 with Keith and Westner before we got enough grant money to have them do a schematic, whole renovations, how to put the building up, bring the building up to code. And at that time, Kip and Carol Mellon, the select person, Tom and Art and myself and John Evans were on the planning commission. You remember we went to a lot of meetings and so forth. And so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I can answer questions. The whole thing about the vault has already been researched, and there's one reason we can't put the vault there or even extend out into this building. And part of the reason is that the vault construction, both the foundations and the ceilings, they're meant to be so if the whole building collapses, the vault still stands. And that's why putting a vault, as we have in the plan on the back, is much cheaper because that's all, when you're doing it.
yeah, but, well, go ahead. The vault is not something we're concerned about right now.
Well, it's part of the thing. I know we can't do that right now. I understand
Yeah.
that. But I just want to say that the idea of building it out is their work, both because of the roof and also because, and I'm 99.5% sure of this, there's a right-of-way from Route 30 to the back of the Dutton Gym. And we have a road right-of-way, And we thought in the planning commission of whether that was ever going to be useful to get around to parking in the back and so forth. But that is another reason why you can't build anything out there, between. You could build a road, but that had problems too, so that's all. So that sort of brings you up to date on that. It's not, the vault is not just needed by Anita. Kim needs it badly. I mean, way back in the time of Mickey, we have to keep so many records for 5 years or
It is,
you don't want to go to the vault.
don't want to go to the vault.
Okay, we'll skip the vault. Anyway, what I'm recommending is that since there are new members on the board and so forth, that sometime, I know it won't be very soon, but sometime you schedule a workshop on the Western report, which he could even come over, would come over, and bring you up to date on what the possibilities are, okay? We can only do the fire doors now without triggering the need to do the whole thing. So we have to be very careful. Obviously, we have to be very careful about that. Okay? And,
Kit, you look a little surprised.
No, I'm trying to, what do you mean we can only do the fire doors without triggering the whole thing?
well,
What are you
that's a complicated law, Kit, but the basic thing is,
ADA you talking about?
Triggering compliance with it.
well, you can't,
No, you said triggering the whole thing.
well, yeah,
What is the
that
whole
means you
thing?
have to do the whole thing. It's like, I can give you an example. The church that was in West Townsend that was damaged and got some insurance money, and they just wanted to fix certain things. But if you start to fix certain things, there's a state law that you have to bring the whole building up to code. Now, bring the whole building up to code would be a lift, the whole thing. So the only reason we were able to do the fire alarm system and the fire doors was, without triggering this law, was because it was part of the fire safety for the building. And so you can build cabinets, you can do that little stuff, but you couldn't put in, it's complicated, but I've heard this over
I
and
mean, I
over.
thought all we were talking about was the fire doors.
Oh, we are.
That's,
Yeah, that's why, yes. But I thought that maybe, that's the reason we can't do any of these other things until we want to do the whole thing. Whether it's the vault or the whatever, we can't do any more stuff.
We're not talking about doing more stuff now, so.
Okay, all
Is there
right.
something about the fire doors?
All right, fine. I want you to study the Western report, though. Now, you asked me made the motion that asked me to get Western to do the bidding and all of that stuff. And they were ready to do that, and they had the construction things ready, but it wasn't included in the $1,300 that he had quoted us. So I said, well, I thought we could do it, and that was my mistake, okay? So they're ready and able to do it, and we'll get to that because he sent me some stuff today. And also a ballpark figure of about how much it would cost. You also asked us to have Western investigate door holders, door openers for both doors. Well, that's not good news because 3 units of low energy operated sets are $4,200 each, and that doesn't include markup or installation. And the total cost could run as high as $17,000, and would also necessitate reconfiguring the front ramp, which is part of the bigger plan, to go down by the town clerk's office. So I said, well, we're not going to even talk about that right now. Okay, that can be
Thank you.
later. So I did take that on myself. Now we have to have a permit, with the construction drawings. What's the situation on
The
that?
permit application did arrive. That is open for discussion for signing tonight. And I do have one copy of the construction plans from Keith and Wesner here,
Yeah, they have
which I believe goes in with that.
They
I
have
believe
to
that
go
goes in with
with
that,
the
right, that permit
filing.
application,
This is really important
state
to do
permit
this
construction application.
because you have to have it before, even though you have a contractor ready to go and everything is cool. You can't do this till you have the permit from the state. And they have 30 days in which to give you a permit. Now, they'll try to do it faster, but, we need to get that off right away. And I don't know, there's some small fee connected. He knows. He put that in, it's 80 something dollars. So if that's ready, I would urge
David's already seen it, sort of.
you to try to do that.
There are some sections in there that still need to be filled out. I haven't filled out any of it, but there are some highlighted things that we can.
so I guess for me, I need a little bit of clarification because at your last visit when you were here, I understood that everything was in place and we were ready to go to get the fire doors done and that sort of thing. And my recommendation was that we use Westner to draw up the bidding process and oversee that because of his familiarity with the whole fire door thing. I felt that these fire doors can be quite complicated, and I don't think that just somebody can come in and put them in, and I think they ought to be overseen, the whole installation ought to be overseen by somebody that has experience in that area. And now, I'm hearing you say something about the door openers, or the things that hold the doors open are included in this,
No,
and it's $17,000 more,
no,
and,
That was the automatic door
those are
openers.
the automatic door openers,
Okay.
they have nothing to do with the fire door.
okay, so,
And
That's for ADA
well,
compliance.
that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
sort out. Things keep getting mixed up. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
why we should be talking about the fire doors.
But
Am I right? I mean,
And the electronic holdbacks for the fire doors, those are
those
included.
are all included.
Those are all included, so that during hot weather, we can open
so
up
if
the
we can
doors.
back up and talk about the fire doors and not convolute it by talking about other projects and other
Well,
things.
I'm sorry, but you did ask the committee to
Okay.
find out whether we
Yeah.
should do that, which is why we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And incidentally, Tom and Bob are here as representatives of the committee, and Carol Mellis is also a member of this committee.
Kit, when we originally brought this up at some request, but Kit's original concern was for the additional cost above that 1,300. Just wanting to know what it might cost to have the architecture on the request for proposal and the bidding process and all of that.
Well, I
And the
have
understanding
that.
when I came up to you was that they were basically ready to go. Apparently
They've
they
been
are.
ready to go for a long time, but we've had a few things that have to be clarified about hardware and drawings, because somebody has to approve these. Now, part of these construction documents for the fire doors include everything. They include the moldings, they include the paint, they include everything. The electrician, everything, not just the fire doors and all the modifications, the other. So everything is included. And what I didn't know was that the panic hardware and all of the stuff and the paint colors, all of that are submitted to someone, i.e., hopefully the architect, for approval. Before they're purchased, they're just emailed. They email, the things, the photo, pictures and stuff. And Wessner says the panic hardware, along with closers, hinges, and so forth, paint and all, are shown in cut sheets that the contractor provides prior to buying them, so there's no mistake of what you want. And also, colors and all that. And so the town can choose to either hire us, that's Wessner, to take care of these things, or you need someone that can approve the submittals. Submittals can be emailed directly to us from the contractor. We stamp them, rejected or approved, and if it is done efficiently, it takes 3 to 4 hours to check everything submitted for the job. So that is also part of the present construction contract documents, that they will approve all that. So we're really, Wessner says today that it would be approximately, this is just an estimate, $750 more for all of this. Okay? It might be a little more and minor reimbursable expenses. And so that's what we want. Now we have the $1,300. You do remember that we did get $2,100 from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, so we could use that for the Western fee. At 5 o'clock this afternoon, I received from him what he calls a project manual, which has an invitation to bid and instructions to bidders, a bid form. Then it goes on to supplementary general conditions. It's basically what the architecture firm uses all the time. Now what he would like, I told him at first I was coming down tonight, is a liaison person who, when he has questions, I don't mean about the construction, but about dates. Now, this has dates in it, but those dates obviously can be changed. And he wants the town to be sure to check on the insurance things that are in here, you know, so we're all on the same page. Now, I have, and he's going to talk to me tomorrow about that. So he's very anxious to have a person, whether it's Tom, who's an engineer, or someone who can answer for this in the town. So I hope to do that before we leave tonight, that you can do that. I have a copy. I only got this at 5 o'clock. It's 14 pages, so I printed off a copy for you. I also forwarded the thing to Anita. This was after 5, so you should have also a digital copy, but I have a copy I can leave with you right now, which I would like to do. And actually, I have 2 that I could leave with you, I think. Yes.
I'll show you one and I'll make copies for.
Well, anyway, so whoever, but if you appoint somebody that isn't sitting right here, then we need to say one of these.
Let me have one for the board, and I'll make copies for whoever's interested.
But anyway, they will be in digital form, you know, in your office by tomorrow. So now, what are the questions?
So this is what we're doing, 15,000 total cost? 15,750?
That's what it looks like, yes.
And that's a state construction permit application, and that would, I think, be the estimate of the cost of the work that's going to be done,
Yeah.
plus or minus. Do you want a motion to sign that, even though you already did?
I didn't sign it
Oh,
yet.
you did sign it, okay.
Tell him, I didn't sign it.
You got it all filled out.
I think the permit's good for
It's blank.
a year or 2, but it's going to take a couple of weeks, I think you were saying.
Well,
just to
they
get
have
processed
30
or-
days, so
30
they
days.
want to do that as
Yeah.
quickly as possible. And you have to send the drawings, because otherwise they don't know what they're approving.
Say, liaison,
Yeah.
should be one of them.
Yeah.
And I would,
Does this have the 750 for him to oversee the bid, or would that be? No, it'd be an addition. So that's 15, 16,
But when the job is finished, then the actual cost, suppose it runs under or over, that's adjusted.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that the $750 isn't in there, because maybe the job will be $750 less or more, you know, it's not.
Where is this money coming from? Remind me?
Basically, the RDAG, and we've got some other town hall money. What other town hall money? Mostly.
You can only use the interest. though.
Interest off
Yeah.
loans, you can't use.
Yeah, and we figured that out.
I don't know either, because I don't know how, I mean, it goes back a long way, so I have no idea what the initial investment was.
Steve and I figured that out at
Oh, you
one
did?
point.
Oh, okay.
It was 2 accounts of 10,000, right?
No. The Mosley fund is 60-something thousand in it now, but I don't know what the original investment was, you know, the original.
But the
donated
Mosley
amount.
fund, you can only use the
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah, and we figured it out at one point. We went,
Well, Patty, I think that I heard that you had moved some money from the loan fund, I don't remember what it's called, and you had it reserved for town hall renovations, and I believe that amount was 20,000. I think I heard that from you, Ken.
There's more than that in there.
So that was,
What is that?
The RDAG fund.
but I meant some of it had been earmarked for town hall renovations.
Yes.
okay, shall we start with, do we have a motion to sign the application for the permit?
So moved.
can I ask you to amend, just not to break in, it's not my place, but to amend that to also have the treasurer have the authority to cut a check to go with it, so you don't have to wait 2 weeks.
The 8662 permit fee. Yes, we'll add
All right,
that,
all right.
if that's okay with you.
That's perfectly fine.
Do we have a second?
One second.
All in favor? So Tim, do you get this, attach the check and mail it in?
I guess so. With the plans too, it's gonna have the plans with it.
You have to have the drawing.
There, and then I think
Oh.
we're in that one below, you just want to, that came under separate cover though. It is drawings, but they seem fairly simple.
Is there only one set here?
Yeah.
And Mr. Webber will be providing additional.
He provided that.
Okay.
And we have this over here because we're gonna look it over and I guess we
Well, so,
don't want to invite bids until we have a permit.
no, so we're at the point now of, right, of appointing a liaison or someone. I mean, it seems to me as though one of you guys that have been in it forever,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
rapidly raise your hand to volunteer, it would be helpful.
Oh, I heard his volunteer, Tom. Doesn't that count?
Well, Tom is an engineer, and Tom and Bob were both here when Mark Wester was here checking out all the stuff, so, you know, they're
That's
really
what I'm
active
saying.
hands-on.
You guys, well, yeah, I mean, I'm still at the point of where, from the board's position, and please somebody speak up, but we should toss it into Weston's ballpark and let him oversee that. And having said that, I certainly would like to, I'm just repeating what I said before, I think, but would like to make sure that local contractors get the opportunity to bid. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I did tell him that we wanted an ad in the Reformer with the bidding ad, and asking local contractors to
Good.
submit. And he is writing the ad, and I said that I assumed this, and I have done this in the past, that the ad can be emailed to the Reformer, but the town can pay for it, you know, as yeah. And so that, the reason you need to look at the project thing is, it's assuming that we can go ahead right away. Well, we can go ahead right away and get, you know, the process going, even though we don't have the permit back from the fire, from the state.
I make a motion that we appoint Tom Lyman as liaison between the Townshend Selectboard and Westner Associates for overseeing and fire order.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm very grateful.
Congratulations, Tom.
The only other thing that I would like to say is, by our next meeting, at least if we've got some idea of how this is going to get paid for, it would be helpful. Not, well, maybe some here and some there, but if we could get it down a little more pat. It sounds like that's already been done, but I'd like to know
Yeah.
where that is, so as a matter of record.
Can
that-
do.
Well, we've got 67,000 and change in our debt that is for the town. Plus whatever the interest is on the mostly.
Oh, it sounds like you should have this.
Well, he's got a copy, so I guess.
I guess,
Oh, okay.
because I had two
And
copies.
that's actually contract.
We
That's
have
actually,
Craig
that's,
photocopy that.
yeah, that's the proposed bid request, RFP. So we'll get copies of that.
You know I'm gonna give it to someone. Okay,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
I think you're finished, and that was good. But do consider that sometime we could do a study, you know, on the Because it wouldn't hurt to bring you up to date. There've been lots of, changes in that too. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Ted.
Just split the chairs back. Hopefully this will be more graceful than the last exit. I mean, you never know.
Which will need to be signed by Haley.
Okay. This isn't something we need to do now.
Are we still under
If you want.
members of the public?
No, we're done with members of the public.
Oh, so it's in comments, and that's all I copied our, yeah, it's not even, wait, so it is.
Okay.
I just think that we ought to develop a policy when we come to members of the public, that is the place that the members of the public speak. Maybe given 5 minutes at the board's discretion to address any issue. I think that when we allow members of the public to chime in on any issue as we go along, it belabors our agenda, it becomes disruptive, and it just, if you get a bunch of people doing that, it's gonna, so I think that when members of the public, if there are people here from the public that want to speak, that's the place for them to speak.
And
I don't know
to
if
clarify,
that's a policy or
your
not. We need
meaning,
to do
are
that.
you wanting a policy or you want to set precedents?
Well, we can set precedents. I don't care, but I just think that we need to reiterate that. And that may be done when we come down the agenda and we get to members of the public, or even at the beginning of the meeting, members of the public can speak in that forum.
In that slot right
Instead
there.
of in
Yep.
every,
Right.
because pretty soon you've got 8 or 10 people that are chiming in on an issue, too many
Yeah.
select board members, and it gets a bit out of hand.
Okay, Scott Bridge inspection report. Craig, did you have a chance to go over this?
I read it while I was eating a peanut butter sandwich. Yes, I did. Actually, it's fairly thorough.
See the peanut butter?
The bottom, there is a number, I believe, on page 29 or 30.
Says Skippy peanut butter.
Actually, no.
So basically, what
You
are
mean
you
the
telling us?
estimate of cost?
The estimate of costs, it's, yeah. And I can't remember right now, 1.2, 1.3, something.
Couple million bucks.
1.5 million.
1.5 million to repair, not replace, and that's for pedestrian use.
Do you remember if there was anything contained in the report about preservation of the carving?
No.
And I'm referring to the carved graffiti that's members of the community and tourists have been adding to it over the last 100 years. Just not wanting to lose any of that.
We were, for the record, promised certain salvage rights if they did begin to disassemble that bridge, that we would have kind of first choice of looking at boards and things like, if there was anything worth saving for
Of course, we
historic.
were promised all kinds of things that...
Well, we were.
Has yet to come to fruition.
Okay, tell...
So there's a meeting, right, coming up the 12th?
Yeah.
Well,
In Montpelier.
in Montpelier.
And who's planning to go to that?
I am planning to go to that.
I have that on my calendar, but I cannot guarantee it until whatever, but I'd like to.
Tell you what,
And that
Let me-
being,
What time's that meeting up there? 10 o'clock. Leave here.
8 o'clock.
That was
You better leave here a little before 8. You better leave here at 7-ish.
oh, good grief.
Well, you gotta stop and get a coffee and a donut. You gotta go
Oh,
Yeah.
If Diesendorf is driving,
You
we're
got
gonna
construction?
be in
I thought it was
Montpelier.
going into Lincoln.
We could go to my inside.
That's good of
Okay, David, let me give this to you, since you sound like you're for sure going.
Yes.
Do you know, is Peter Shumlin gonna be there?
Oh, I doubt it.
I have no idea who's gonna be there other
Because
than
we'd asked
myself
for
and Matt. Meehan.
1.5 million.
1.5.
Leave it to us and we'll fix it.
Peter?
maybe when you get done going over this, you can pass it on to Kit. It seems like it would be useful for whoever's there to be familiar with it.
Will do.
Are we still trying to find out who's going to be there and?
Matt Mann has promised to send an inspection report, and I think he probably had a hand in getting this to us, but I don't know that to be the case. There was a cover letter that came with it, addressed to whom it may concern. Here's the inspection
Right.
report. I'm sorry.
Are you leading up with an answer?
Yes, I am. Matt was also going to try to get us an agenda for the meeting and a list of who is going to be attending the meeting to give us an indication as to whether they're going to be making decisions or just having coffee and Danish. And talking about all the historic bridges in Vermont, of which Scott is one.
And then there's the Bartonsville one.
That's not our concern.
No. Well, except that we may be competing for the same pot of money.
It's all good, it's already up to bid, I think.
Yeah, they got the bid. Supposed to start work on it.
Construction.
And they don't need it, they've got a Valley Bridge.
Aren't those historic?
Oh, okay, do we have anything else about Scott Bridge?
Put the cover letter right inside there so you know who to contact when you need to.
They reinforced the, they pulled the sheet fence back across it. The sheet fence that's keeping kids.
Okay.
I will say that, not that there's any place for it, but invitations to bid for roadside mowing are out. You should have bids for the 16th, which is the next meeting, 16th of July. And bids are out and published in the paper, along with the roadside mowing, but Saturday, today and tomorrow, for the fire pond.
Yes.
And those bids should be due, will be coming in by the 12th of July.
Those bids should be due
3 o'clock.
end of the day on the 11th.
Is that what it says? Okay.
Yes, 4 p.m. on the 11th.
Okay. And will you be opening those at the firehouse? Is that what I'm getting?
It's on here. It says
Yeah.
11.
Okay, you two are great about that. Okay, Southern Vermont Trail Riders, I met with Lloyd Church and signed an agreement. I have their certificate of liability insurance. He also gave me, I don't know if any other board member wants this, a VASA calendar of events. If anybody wants this, just, you'll take it, okay. And Craig, I'll give you the agreement and the insurance certificate.
I'll give you insurance.
Okay. You will notice that their insurance is going to expire sometime very soon, and they'll be renewing it, and we'll get a new one.
And I'll get you a copy of this agreement.
So I think that takes care of them.
Just like that.
Just the cover sheets.
Just writing without snow.
Cemetery rights of way, Charlie and I continue to work on. I think we're up to Garland Stove bid opening.
Kim, go ahead.
What?
Well, I'm not sure if this comes under old business or new business, but the letter that was sent to you from the downtown program,
Oh,
the
you're
village
right.
center designation,
You're right, that we,
it seemed like it was the old business because it was March 2nd. I'm not sure where that stands.
It's
Well-
a current letter reminding us of March 2nd. I just talked to Bobby Servo about that. Mr. Manay, I believe the planning commission is working on that and is going to send a letter to the select board containing something that needs to be signed by the board. He didn't want to talk about it tonight, but I do have that letter here, which we received June 29th, which references that letter of March 2nd, which apparently obviously the planning commission found to designate the village center designation.
So that
Was
is.
to renew.
So
It's in
that
the
is a
works.
planning, that is a planning
It's the
commission.
planning commission
Yeah.
has it under control, and we'll get it to the board for signature, probably at the next meeting.
And they're going to update it so it's no longer the village center designation for Barton Village.
I saw that. If I remember right, remember when we first did that, they kept calling us Barton. I'm not sure why. We had a wicked time,
apparently
Way
they
back.
still are.
way back when. But it's not the town of Barton, it is the town of Townsend. I think that their lot number and ours are pretty close.
It's computers, kids. They put Townsend on the top and push
That's why I don't
print.
look at mine in time.
Come on. Okay, are we ready for Garland stove bids?
Yes.
Two of them.
Did it say in the bid that they had to be removed by a certain time?
Yeah, 30 days. They got 72 hours to pay for it. 30 days to
Oh.
Craig Hunt bids $150 for it.
Because that's already junk.
You gotta be selling burgers up there.
200 from Robert DeGranger. One less thing Craig has to store somewhere.
I was gonna sort that over.
And there's only those 2 bids.
There are only these 2 bids.
I make the motion, we sell the stove to Robert DeGranier for $200.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The gas is disconnected from it. Ready to go.
I'll give Marty a call.
Sorry about that. Told you to bid a little more.
You tell people that every week. don't you?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Better get it, bid it up.
Okay, we've done compliance with 99 road standards, or at least we have a plan.
Yes.
Propane fuel.
Propane fuel, I will be having information ready for you at the next meeting regarding alternative pricing for propane fuel. I apologize to the board for taking a few time this evening when I'm ill prepared.
Well, you didn't take up much of it.
No
That's-
apologies necessary.
That's a good thing. It occurs to me that I have got another piece of
It's not like you have a full plate of it.
old business which will take no time at all. We did sign
Yes.
the contract with the sheriff's department.
Oh, that was a bid.
Jeff and I met with them, had a good meeting. Well, not them, we met with two people. So there's that contract. Now, what reminded me of it, of course, is that we've got the logging of town land.
I read the proposals that were emailed. I don't know if there's any more than that.
Well, I've got an actual timber sale contract now that was emailed, but I couldn't open it, and I wrote back to them. And I think for the record, I would like to spend half a minute just saying, so it gets in there, how this came about. This logging company, which is Longview Forest Inc. in Westminster, is logging the Kowalski property. They've been at that for weeks, and they will, I guess, be there for a bit longer. And that's the property adjoining our little 5-acre piece that's down in the hole below the old dump site. And they called and said, while we're there, have permission from an owner to take timber across their property. Would you like us to just clean that up for you? So that's how that started. They're the ones who have the right of way to get at it. I'm not aware of any other way to get at it. Certainly nobody's going down that hill and across the brook to do it. So we continued talking to them. So that's the background of that, and why it wasn't something that we decided to do and put out a bid. I talked to Carl Steiner about it at some length, and Craig, I think you did too. And he said, you're absolutely right, nobody else is gonna go in there in forever, just have them take out whatever is worth anything and clean it up. I talked to Carl as our tree warden.
Would this fall under the purview of the timber inspector to make sure that we're getting a fair price for that timber? I mean, Carl would definitely know, but there are two people
Well, I
that
think
are appointed.
the appropriate timber inspector, didn't that email say that? You know, you have to rely on our tree warden, I would suppose. My concern with that is that it looked like in that last email that they were gonna cut most everything. And their estimate was $1,000 coming back to us.
Right.
5-acre chunk of land, if they're gonna cut most everything, I don't know what it's gonna look like, number one. I don't know, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I talked to Carl about that specifically, just to run the numbers past him, just to get an idea. And he actually did not express an opinion either way or react either way to the $1,000 fee. He said it's a hard area to log, it's a rough time of year to log in a sense. It's hot and humid down there. He said most of the wood probably, he hasn't looked at it, but probably isn't very good to begin with. And what sounds like a lot, 120 tons of hemlock pulp, you can put in 2 trucks. It's not that much. 10-cord firewood fits on 1 truck, and 27,000 feet of hemlock timber is like 2 trucks. It's not like train loads are going out of it in that sense. But my concern when I first saw that was 1,000 sounds to plus or minus 1,000 more or less. My concern was that it didn't sound like very much, but he indicated that it isn't really very much, but there's an awful lot of pulling to get it out of that hollow, and that there probably isn't much that's good down there. But I know when I go by 2x4, they're not giving it away.
Well, I know. And I wasn't necessarily looking at the money part. I mean, I was, but I was looking more at what's going to be left.
And not knowing what good forestry practice is, but I know we've got several people in town that do. Or we're going to make sure that we're not going to be hurting the environment and harming streams and causing a bigger problem later.
Well, I mean, because we sit here, we give local businesses and local people priorities, and we ought to at least see, I mean, there's 3 or 4 local people here that do firewood. Is there any interest there? I happen to know this logging company. I've seen their operations, and I think they're as good on the upper scale as any of them. But I'm still concerned about what it looks like, number one. I'm also concerned about how we say we give prior, and I know how it comes about, and it's easier for them to do and all that sort of thing. But we ought to at least ask any of the locals if they're interested in it, and I don't know how to even go about that. But I think that this logging company's going to be there for a bit longer, so we've got a couple of weeks, maybe by our next meeting.
Well, that's it. We can ask a couple folks, but they won't be able to use the route.
They probably won't be able to use that access,
particular access.
Well, and I don't know what they would use then.
Well, I don't either, and I mean, I guess it's kind of up to them to.
Carl did recommend a heavy cut.
Yeah, he did.
Nothing but garbage down there.
No, I concur. I just don't know.
He's working there, opening it up all around it.
Yeah.
5 more acres it's gonna do, but.
No, it probably won't hurt. I just.
And that's Kowalski. There's no other way in there, I don't think.
And I can't imagine that any of the local guys would even want to do it. But
Not for what's there, I would think.
not for what's in there, but I think that we ought to ask them.
$1,000 seems low.
That's what I thought. For pulp and for,
they're just gonna
and
check
I
it.
haven't gone down in there to look either, but it don't seem like a lot of money for stumpage.
What
For
kind
some of
was-
that, and
what
I
kind
don't-
was it?
Not a lot of hardwood.
4,000. 4,000 feet.
It was 4,000 feet?
Yeah, plus 10 cord.
Oh, you got that other thing which I don't have with me.
Maybe it's too.
I don't have any numbers, it's 29 and 2,000, white pine saw log, 29 hemlock. 120 tons of pulp. 2,000 hardwood and 10 cord.
And I think he has already faxed Anita, their insurance certificate, so.
I think we got an email that
Oh, maybe. I mean, I got a couple of emails from him that I couldn't open.
You know, and I didn't want to belabor it necessarily, but I just think that, again, we do have local people, and
Well, see if
they want to drag it up out of there, up over, whatever, I don't know.
if they do,
Can't be gotten out the winter time, too.
Okay, does anybody want to ask the local people?
I think it would behoove us to ask local people.
I would, but I don't know who they all are. I'm afraid I'll miss somebody.
oh, you got.
Yeah, but you got.
they get stumpage fees and everything on there.
I have nothing.
Yes, they did have on that email, stumpage, right, what they pay stumpage?
They were offering, saying that they were giving to Mr. Kowalski, but they didn't price it out. It'll be whatever the mill tallies and offers
Yeah,
best price.
That's clear here.
And we should get mill receipts and
I mean, I don't think we need to put an ad in the paper or anything like that. I guess we could just ask, I don't know.
Well, should we sit here and brainstorm who we know?
I can do 3.
Mark, Otto, or Carl. Carl sounds like he has no interest.
Larry.
Bill Chase,
Larry,
Rob Wright, good luck.
Rob Wright.
Rob Wright.
So maybe you should put a little ad in the paper. No, I'm gonna talk about that.
First have them all is
I know, and then you gotta go look at it, and you gotta do that. The easiest thing is to say, yeah, we do this, and
Well, I think-
what, but
how you go back to the, and just say, I don't think it's not worth it, to us.
Just tell
Well, I
him,
think
It'd be nice to have somebody else look at it. Did Carl look at I don't know what the going rate is for it.
no, Carl didn't go look at it, I don't think. Who was there?
Jeff Hyman did the
Otto's
estimating.
Otto's the
Timber inspector.
timber inspector, so Otto call him, go look.
Did.
You called Otto?
I left a message. I wasn't able to get in touch with him, so we would need to get in touch with him.
Oh, yeah. It's not-
if we're not in a big rush, I'll ask around.
Great.
But see, one at the
That's
store.
all, I'll ask around.
Great.
And if you guys ask somebody else, get back to me, just so we got one point, man.
Yeah.
Say,
Okay.
Otto's interested, or whatever, if you know
Yeah.
anybody that's interested.
It'd just be interesting to see what the going rate
Just to
is there.
see if anybody else is interested.
Right.
Can I get a copy of that map, just so I can say, this is where it is, and this is what you gotta do?
Your Kubota handle one?
Well, now you ain't got a stove, you don't need no goddamn, that's gas stove.
Okay. Can you get a copy of that for Kit?
Okay.
Oh, you know what, if somebody's gonna be asking about whether this is good prices, maybe the front page of the contract too. Okay, moving along.
Says propane fuel, right?
We already touched on
We
that.
already touched on that. I will have more information for you later.
Oh, that's right. Are we in any other business?
You're down to number 10.
Before we go in there, there's just a couple of things that, just so you can get them in the minutes and pique my, one comment that I had is, I looked at the ads in the Reformer for bids, and I think that we could cut them down dramatically in size. Yeah, I think they'll have the same.
I'll talk to you this
If
week
that's
about
what-
the history of this, getting these ads.
Oh, believe me, I
over 2
know.
weeks.
Believe me, I know, I advertise
Six
them
different
regularly.
people, and they're gonna be expensive, and I hate that they're ugly, absolutely atrocious.
I just think it'd be a lot cheaper if we. A member of the public came to me and wondered about the honor rolls that we have out in the front, if they can be cleaned, and because they're getting pretty tarnished. I just thought I'd bring it up, and we'll look at them and see what the cost of that is. We had that done a number of years ago. I haven't looked, I was gonna look, pay special attention, but if that's a matter of minutes, at least it'll pique my interest. And not to continue and belabor the vault business, but we were doing a lot of things on microfilm, and I think that's continuing. Am I correct? We were changing a lot of that archives and stuff like that that was in the vault
Not that I'm
into
aware of.
microfilm. At least we talked
State
about
has
it.
a copy. You want me to send it to the state and they?
So I'm wondering if we look at microfilming rather than building a vault, if that's a cheaper way to go.
But then
Would
you
we
have to
want
have
to
a
build it?
microfilm reader for people who come in here to research the
You want
records.
to digitize it instead, it's just to
Yeah.
modernize the microphone
Yeah.
theory, but you can photograph it digitally basically and make an archive that way.
Make it.
Well, there are a lot of towns that are actually putting all of their land records online.
Yeah.
And they've gone through the process.
So,
of doing
and I don't
that.
know how expensive that is. I think building another vault is very expensive, so I don't know. And everybody knows how smart I am with today's technologies. It would seem to me like there ought to be a way in today's technologies.
Digitizing it can definitely be done. However, it's making sure that you have a vault that's capable of withstanding the temperatures for the amount of time necessary so that the digital medium doesn't go up in smoke.
You can do remote location.
You can also do remote location.
You do a
can put it,
backup copy,
you
put it
can,
in another.
Just, I don't want to get into a big
Put it
discussion,
on
just something to throw out there.
Interesting thought.
oh, yeah.
His scan.
Craig,
Would you like some
dog pictures.
proposals in my spare time?
No.
As far as what it would,
Not until
Propane.
December.
We want the propane.
Yeah, when you're gone to Florida.
that's
He's
okay,
not
we can
going this
email
year.
them to you.
Oh, he's not?
No. We'll stay here.
Unless we can find a little bit in our bag to help me out,
Well,
put some TVs on.
Maybe you can maybe you can sell that classic movie. Put that on the auction
Little
block.
what?
Sell it.
Sell
Looks like you used Caroline down here.
Okay, does anybody have any need for an executive session?
No.
In that case, do we have a motion?
Yes. I make the motion.
The motion.
The motion.
Just a reminder, there's an ancient road site visit on July 15th
it.
at 10 a.m.
No, at.
Where?
Oh, I'm sorry, the first one is at Pheasant Cemetery Road, if that's how it's pronounced.
That's on State Forest Road.
It's
No.
it's actually in Wardsboro, I believe. It's on that map right there.
On the South Wadsboro Road?
Well, maybe we could
That's,
meet here and
Yeah.
just take a couple cars.
Take my Jeep to go for a
Take your Jeep.
Do some Jeeping.
You can.
Get some boots.
You have a question in the back?
What are you going in executive session for?
We're not.
Okay.
To talk about you, Irv.
Oh,
No, but I mean, that is part of the rules that you have to say what you go into executive for.
No, we don't have to say we don't go into one.
Not if you don't quit, no.
Did we
Then
have,
we can keep it a secret.
did we
Here's, I
have,
noticed the pencil, the lead on your pencil broke, but you kept writing.
There's a motion to adjourn from Jeff.
Okay, thanks.
There's a second.
So we are adjourned.